back, everyone. Today, we're exploring something that's making a real difference in classrooms and therapy centers: sensory wall panels. If you work with special needs students, especially those with autism, ADHD, or sensory processing differences, you've probably noticed how challenging it can be to help them stay regulated and focused. So, have you ever wondered if there's a tool that could support both calming and engagement at the same time?
Absolutely, and sensory wall panels are doing exactly that. What makes them so effective is that they offer controllable, repeatable sensory input in a safe way. For students who are constantly seeking touch, movement, or visual stimulation, these panels give them a structured outlet instead of disruptive behaviors.
Right. So the focus is meeting those sensory needs proactively. Can you walk us through some of the core benefits we're seeing?
Sure. First, improved self-regulation. Multisensory environments can actually reduce anxiety and lower repetitive behaviors when students have control over the input. Wall panels with predictable tactile, visual, and auditory elements become a go-to spot for calming.
Interesting.
Second, increased focus. Brief sensory wall breaks help students satisfy sensory needs, touch, movement, visual input, so they return to academic tasks better regulated and more attentive. Studies show improved attention and more time on task when these tools are integrated into routines.
And there's more than calming involved, right? There's a motor skill piece too?
Exactly. Panels that involve turning gears, tracing mazes, pressing buttons, manipulating textures, they all support fine motor skills, hand strength, and eye-hand coordination. And when students are reaching, stretching, crossing midline to access different elements, you're also supporting gross motor planning and body awareness.
So it's sensory, motor, and cognitive all wrapped into one. I'm curious, how do these panels help with sensory processing itself?
Great question. Interactive walls provide structured tactile, visual, and auditory input that helps the brain practice organizing sensory information, a key challenge for many autistic and SPD learners. Having control over the intensity, type, and timing of stimuli is linked to better sensory modulation and fewer distress responses. In other words, when students can regulate what they experience, they handle sensory input much better.
That control piece seems really important. I remember working with a student who would get overwhelmed during transitions, and just giving him a predictable sensory stop before group time made all the difference.
That's a perfect example. When students know they'll have predictable access to regulating input, challenging behaviors linked to sensory overload or deprivation often decrease. Schools report that embedding sensory walls into daily routines, before group work, after recess, supports emotional balance and reduces meltdowns. You know, I had a kiddo in my therapy room who used to bolt whenever transitions happened. We installed a simple tactile panel by the door, and he'd spend 30 seconds there before moving on. It changed everything for him.
That's powerful. And there's a communication benefit too, right?
Definitely. Cause and effect features like pressing a switch and seeing a light or hearing a sound build understanding of contingency and early problem solving. Panels with images, sounds, and choice-making opportunities encourage communication attempts, language use, and social interaction around a shared activity. Sensory activities create natural opportunities to practice requesting, commenting, and sharing enjoyment.
I see, that's great.
And honestly, sometimes the best therapy sessions are the ones where the student doesn't even realize they're working. They think they're just playing with a cool wall.
Ha, sneaky therapy. I love it. Now, that point about controllable sensory input supporting communication sets up our next piece: best practices for integrating these panels into daily routines. But first, a quick word from our sponsor.
At Little People's Cove, we specialize in sensory wall panels and wall-mounted activity solutions created specifically for pediatric offices, dental clinics, hospitals, and therapy centers. These engaging hands-on panels help reduce anxiety, promote independent play, and keep children positively occupied without the clutter or sanitation concerns of loose toys. Every panel is selected for durability, safety, and easy maintenance, making them ideal for high-traffic healthcare settings. Learn more at littlepeoplescove.com.
Picking up on that controllable sensory input, how do educators and therapists actually integrate these panels into individualized education plans or daily schedules?
Collaboration is key. An occupational therapist can match specific wall features, deep pressure, vibration, lights, sounds, to each student's sensory profile and IEP goals. Written sensory diets can specify when and how long students should use the wall, like 3 to 5 minutes before a literacy block, for maximum benefit.
So it's very intentional, not just free play.
Exactly. And you want to prioritize control, safety, and observation. Allow students to choose activities, stop input, or change intensity. Research shows that control over sensory stimuli is key to positive outcomes. These observations are valuable for informing and refining individualized education plans and environmental adjustments, as recommended by professionals in the field.
That's really practical. And I imagine placement matters too?
Absolutely. Sensory walls can be installed in hallways, calming corners, therapy rooms, resource rooms, extending support beyond the main classroom. They offer multiple ways to participate: touch, look, listen, move. This supports diverse learning styles and abilities in one space, making them inclusive without singling anyone out.
So, to everyone listening, whether you're an educator, a therapist, or working in a pediatric setting, sensory walls can be part of an inclusive design that benefits both autistic and non autistic students. They promote a stronger sense of security and belonging, which is what we're all aiming for.
Right. And when sensory needs are met proactively, many students show improved focus, can stay at the group longer, and engage more consistently with instruction. When students can control sensory equipment, attention increases and repetitive or sensory-driven behaviors decrease, creating better conditions for learning.
So, it's proactive, observation informed, and collaborative. I love that framework. Any final thoughts for folks looking to get started?
Just remember, sensory walls work best as part of a sensory plan, rather than a standalone fix. Work with your OT or specialist, involve the student in choosing activities, and keep observing what works. The goal is to give students a safe outlet for sensory seeking, reduce overload, and support them in learning and social activities. When integrated thoughtfully, they become a practical tool rather than simply a fun extra.
Beautifully said. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise today. And to everyone tuning in, if you found this helpful, share it with a colleague or fellow therapist. Let's keep the conversation going about what actually works for special needs students. Until next time.